Hi, everybody. This is Coach Allison, and I'm here with the week 47, yes, Defy Aging workout to review with you. This week we have a standard circuit where you're going to be rotating around, but it's not done in a very standard way, a little twist this week. There's 6 exercises. After you finish one round, let's say we're rotating this direction. When you start round 2, you're now going to rotate the other direction. Round 3, you're going to go back to the way you went round 1. And round 4 is reverse. So there's 4 rounds. You're going to alternate the direction that you're rotating for each new round. That's really just to add kind of a cognitive fun challenge to this and sort of shake it up. Sometimes what happens up here cognitively is we remember exercises because of the order they were in, and that's fine. But this is going to shake it up a little bit. So the order is going to kind of constantly be changing. So that's the workout program or design for this week. Let's review each individual exercise. Oh yes, I did forget to say that everything is timed 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off. So that doesn't change at least. But yes, okay, here are the exercises. Okay, the first exercise is a back pull. It's gonna be done with a resistance band. So the band is anchored in front of me. You don't need to see that part. What's the best angle for this? So a typical band row would be this. So I'm rowing the arms, right? This looks kind of standard. We do it a lot. The back pull is actually, it's similar, but also very different. So your arms stay locked in straight, shoulders down, so we're not shrugging like this. And we are using the shoulder blades and the back muscles to retract the shoulders and squeeze the shoulder blades together. But we're not pulling, we're not bending the elbows and doing a typical row. So again, pretend you have casts on your arms and your elbows can't bend. Because it's going to be tempting to do this. See how my elbows are kind of bending? We really want to avoid that. I'm going to try to show you my back more. Okay, that doesn't work. I'll just pretend I'm holding onto the bands. Watch my shoulder blades here. They're squeezing together, but I'm keeping those arms straight. So you can see you kind of pop out the chest a little bit. This one takes some practice. But yeah, so that is our back pull. Next exercise, single arm explosive press, or with the band explosive press. Forget exactly what I called it. Another band. Now it's hooked up, so you just have one end, so you're not holding on to both. So it'll have to be tied to the other side, to the anchor point. Okay, the side you're pressing with, that leg is back. So the band is in my right arm, my right leg is back. Okay. So the press looks like this. We want this to be explosive. So I'm going to thrust, explode forward with a nice exhale, and then control it back. So yes, I'm using this back leg to kind of push a little bit for some momentum, and I'm allowing the shoulder to kind of thrust forward a little bit as well. So we're looking for control, tight movement as you come back slow, explode, release slow, explode, release slow. The band, you want it tied up high enough where it's kind of just grazing on your arm. If it's too low and it's digging into your arm, it's going to actually hurt. So your coach will have it tied up somewhere hopefully high enough where that doesn't happen. There are 4 rounds. So we will do 2 rounds on each side. That way you don't have to worry about switching sides in the middle of the set. Single arm farmer's carry. We're going to use a kettlebell for this. Kettlebells are great for a carry because they are bottom loaded, which is different than dumbbell, which has equal weight on each side. So it's, yes, you're carrying weight, so that part doesn't matter, but for carries, a kettlebell is a really good option because of that bottom-loaded distribution of weight. Anywho, so a single side. So pick it up safely, bend your knees to pick it up. Don't just lean forward. Okay, so lock the shoulders down and back, and we go for a controlled walk. But we're keeping those shoulders down and back. What we're trying to avoid is, kind of hunching forward a little bit. We're also avoiding leaning back. We want the shoulders to be squared and level, so we don't want the side with the weight to kind of be drooping down, but we also don't want to be overcompensating and shrugging it. Okay, we're not bending the elbow to carry the weight, it's just dead weight. All sorts of things to keep in mind. Again, just like this explosive press, since there's 4 rounds, we'll do 2 rounds right side, 2 rounds left side. High plank jacks is the next one. Okay, push-up position. There's not a knee option for this exercise, but I will show you some other options. Push-up position, hands and toes. High plank means you're on the hands as opposed to a low plank, which would be your elbows. All right, hips level, Okay, so we want to avoid the steeple hips like this. And the jack component is jumping those feet out and in. Again, we don't want the butt up like this, okay? You can choose to do a toe tap. Okay, that takes out the impact and a little bit of the higher intensity feel. So feel free to start with the toe taps and progress to the full jack when you feel ready. Another option, again, there's not a knee version of this because you obviously can't be jumping on the knees. And a knee tap, this doesn't really work very well. So to avoid being on the floor if needed, we're going to do that same thing up on one of the benches or one of the boxes. And you can do the jumps or the taps, but just up on that incline. Kettlebell Sumo Squat is our next one. All right, so a Sumo Squat is wide stance, wider than your hips, significantly wider than your hips. So it can be a little scary for the balance to stand that wide. So practice that. Try to get comfortable with a wide stance. Your toes are angled outward just a little bit, so they're not perfectly sideways, but they're also not perfectly forward. Find that happy medium. And the kettlebell is just dead weight hanging in the center. So we're not lifting it up, we're not holding it up. From there, we sink into our sumo squat. Make sure at the bottom of your sumo squat, the knee is tracking right over the ankle. See that? What we don't want to do is have the knees kind of caving in. From the side, hips go back, a little bit of forward lean. But you do want to make sure you're keeping those knees out. You're going to get a good stretch in those inner thighs. And the sumo squat really gets a good target on those glutes. All right, and our final exercise is a curl press. So you're working biceps and shoulders. All right, palms turned in at the bottom. I think we had this one recently. Bicep curl, overhead shoulder press. Notice how I'm turning my hands. They're towards my shoulders at the top of the curl, and they slowly pivot. So they're then facing forward at the top of the press. Don't overthink it. It doesn't have to be super mechanical. So it should flow kind of smooth. We want to avoid any rocking or swaying. So we want to avoid leaning back on the press like this. And we also want to avoid swinging at the bottom of the curl. So those are the two things we want to really avoid. So it should be a nice crisp curl with no sway and a nice overhead press with no lean. Okay, that is our curl press. All right, that wraps up week 47. We'll see you back next week.